What's the difference between information and knowledge? On today's video, I want to not only unpack the difference between those two words, but help give you some pointers, some tips, and some suggestions on how you can make more of the information that you already know, the things that you're aware of, into knowledge. And so what is that primary difference? First of all, the difference between information and knowledge is the application into your own personal life. In fact, knowledge is information applied. And so if you look at that, how do we try to retain more knowledge over a long period of time? Well, the answer is pretty straightforward. It's actually all you have to do is practice it, use it, and apply it, and put that information that you know into practice. So it's a lot easier said than done in a lot of cases. So first and foremost, when you've got information as a part of your day-to-day activity, you probably know tons of things. You already know what you need to do to lose weight, for example, right? You know that you got to eat right and exercise. You probably even know what it would take to get more business and more income and create a greater degree of wealth. But the problem is you're just not doing it. Now, most people give you an explanation and say, well, I just don't have the time, I just don't have the money. Really what it is they haven't practiced it and put it into the areas of their life that they need to in order to make it knowledge. So I'll give you a quick analogy about learning something that will not only help you to see what these differences are, but then help put it in perspective or put it into place. So back when I was about 19 years old, I used to be a ballroom dance teacher. And one of the things that they taught me that I learned early on is there is that information stage when you just learn a new fact, and then it becomes knowledge when you apply it over a long period of time. But they also mentioned that there were two other areas that you needed to be tuned into. As a dance teacher, you're dancing around, you're learning something to do, but it's actually a physical skill. Now, everything you do is technically a physical skill. Even if it's mental, it's something that is physical going on inside your brain. Now, what would happen is when you would learn a new step, whether you'd step to the right, step to the left, do a new dance, do a new style, foxtrot, tango, waltz, whatever it was that we were learning, or swing dancing, which is, by the way, how I met my wife, is that every time you would learn something new, it would have to start in what they called mechanical stage. Now, you probably remember mechanical stage. It's like when you were 15, 16 years old learning how to drive a car for the first time, right? You had your hand at 10 and 2, and you would double check your blind spot, and you would signal, and you would only change lanes very quickly and do the hand over hand method. You would do all these things. That's mechanical use. It's where you're thinking about it. When you're a dancer or a dance teacher, you're thinking about it. You're like 1, 2, 3. 4, 5, 6, and you're doing very basic things. You're counting it. Sometimes your lips are moving and all those things. That's mechanical use. It means you have to think about it as you do it. Now, with practice and with repetition, which, by the way, is the most important thing, practice and repetition, it goes from being mechanical use into the stage that you're really after, which is natural use. Now, as a dance teacher, here's how you would notice if somebody's gone from mechanical to natural. What would happen is instead of them counting and thinking really hard as they were dancing around, what they would do is they would start to be able to engage and have a conversation. So what you would do is as you were dancing around with your student, you'd ask them questions. You'd intentionally ask them things to get them off of thinking about whatever it was that they were doing. Now, how do you apply that in business? Well, here's a good way to look at it. Anytime you train or transfer a skill to somebody and you give them the information, in order for it to become knowledge, it has to go from mechanical to that actual natural use. So when you're working with somebody, be aware and be conscious that their mechanical use for the first couple of weeks, if not the first couple of months of them using that. Then over time, as they begin to practice and develop and use that skill over time, they'll become more of a natural use. They'll be able to do it in flow. And the way that you can do that easier is create a system and a process they can follow over and over again till they can do it without that system and process. So that's the video tip for today. Practice, 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 and use that to go from information and knowledge and from mechanical use to natural use. Have a great day.